Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next YouTube video, and this is going to be, as promised, the kind of second part to my kind of overview look at the Quickstrike Avatar The Last Airbender card game. As promised, I would do basically a sample game, how the game works, a match. I said I'd create two decks, and as has been chosen by the first person to comment, we have Aang Vs Zuko, a classic Book 1 kind of conflict, given that these are all Book 1 cards. Now, each deck, as you can see, is basically made of 60 cards, and then your character card is basically the main person of your deck. Now, as you can see with Aang here, he has these kind of traits, and basically you have to make your deck up out of cards based on these traits and air. So Aang can only use air elemental cards that have the air symbol on them. He can't use fire ones, even though he's the avatar, just because they make him an airbender character in Book 1, basically. The sun basically means he's a light character, he's a good character. This means spirit. That's the difference between like mind, spirit, and body. Basically, it means that Aang is a more spiritual person. He has like heart and stuff like that. That's what it says in the instructions. You can use spirit kind of based advantages, and the fox means kind of cunning, sly, and stuff like that. A lot of his strikes are kind of tricky and stuff like that. So that's the way that his deck is made of. Zuko, as you can see, is fire, so he can only use fire elemental kind of cards. He has the shadow trait. Now there is a dark kind of trait, so the shadow is kind of like the more neutral one, so he's not completely bad. Like say Commander Zhao is the kind of dark one. Zuko's just in shadow because he kind of hasn't quite decided at this point in the story. He's also spiritual, so he has the heart and stuff like that. He has the bull, which means he's a more aggressive character, so that's the interesting thing here. Now, before I kind of start off, just making the decks based on the cards that I have, I think the Zuko deck has the kind of clear advantage in basically most of the cards. Just looking at them, the effects and stuff like that, I would assume that Zuko is going to win, just based on that. I have played a few games before, but I don't think I've made a Zuko deck, obviously, because I only got the Zuko card a few days ago in the pack that I opened on camera. Now, but that said, Aang could have some upsets, because for the most part there are kind of quite similar cards, like say the ones that don't have any kind of symbol on them, the ones that any deck can use. So a lot depends on that. So let's just start off the game. As you can see, there are two mats basically laid on top of each other, because that's just how the game works. And as you can see here, there's one of them, one here. This is all Aang stuff here. The chamber card goes in the chamber area, and the deck goes here. You start off with 4 cards in the discard pile because of a game mechanic you'll see later. And then, as you can see here, green zone, yellow zone, red zone. You put 3 energies in each, and it's the same on Zuko's side as well. Now, basically, the whole concept of this game is that you flip cards from your deck into your opening zone, and each strike card has a attack points, and then your opponent, in response to that, flips cards into their zone, and you basically compare the attack to the defense here. If the attack is better, your opponent has to basically like move to the next zone. If they still can't take the attack, they move to the next zone. If they still can't take the attack in the red zone, the other team scores a point, and basically first 1 to 3 points wins. So it's a pretty interesting game. And then you add in stuff like if your opponent has enough defense, they can then like pay the energy and attack back. So it kind of goes back and forth, and it's very much dependent on how much energy you have based on the kind of cost of the cards. And then throughout the game you'll be kind of charging up your kind of chamber card to use the attack in that. So it's really interesting about saving enough energy to use the powerful attacks and stuff like that. You can, if you just want to let someone take a zone, you can basically just flip a card into your energy zone to kind of gain more energy for the next time. So I might as well just start the game now. I'm going to apologise straight away for the camera work and stuff like that. I'm not going to probably play a full game, otherwise I'll be here all day. I'm just going to play a few rounds, I suppose, so it's not too long, and hopefully you'll be able to understand what's going on. That's the setup of the game, basically. 60 card deck, though basically 13 of your cards are kind of not in your deck at the start of it because 9 energy and 4 cards in this card pile. So the way it works is that you flip a coin basically, and whoever wins that toss gets to choose whether they want to attack or defend first. I have a coin here. It's basically off my Professor Layton Revoltech. I'll just call this side with the kind of X on it heads. So let's see what we get. And it's tails. So I'll just say Aang won that, and Aang is going to attack first. So the opening attack in this game is actually just a force 4, so it's a level 4 attack. And basically what you do on the opening turn is that the person who's taking the attack, which in this case is going to be Zuko, one of the cards from the discard pile goes into the green zone, so to basically give you more energy, which is basically this clean replenish. That's part of the replenish process on Zuko's turn. So Zuko then has to defend against a level 4 attack, so you flip a card from the deck into the green zone, which is the opening zone. So a level 4 attack, and you can see here this card, Tectonic Shift, has defense 3 and attack 6. So in this case, since it's a defense card, it only has 3, as you can see. So that's not going to work. So what basically Zuko has to do in this case is he can't defend because it doesn't have enough defense, so you have to focus this, which is the game mechanic, what it's called. So you have to you flip this into the energy zone, so Zuko now has 5 green energy and moves down to the yellow zone, so Aang's attack is going through. You flip a card into the yellow zone then, next, and as you can see here, this one, Burning Lash, has 7 defense, basically. It's called Intercept in the game, and 4 attack, and it's got an effect which doesn't really need to be activated right now. So Zuko's obviously going to use this, otherwise he'll have to go into his red zone, and he has lots of energy to pay. So as you can see here, it requires 1 green and 2 yellow energy, and basically what you do to pay that is just literally take 2 green energy, put them in the discard pile, take 1 yellow energy, put them in the discard pile too. And now the way the energy system works is that, say you don't have any green energy left, but you have loads of yellow and red, you can actually overpay. Like, you can just use red energy because they're the strongest energy. The strongest attacks require a lot of red energy. So if you only have a weak attack but no green energy, you can actually pay using yellow and stuff like that. But you can't pay a green for a yellow for a red, and obviously stuff like that. So that's how the game works. But anyway, obviously this has enough defense, which means that Zuko can actually strike back, which is what happens in this case here. Zuko's ready to attack now with a force of 4. And obviously that's that. And then you can choose to use this if you want. Take away 4 of this card's defense, and when you counter-attack, your opponent uncharges one of his or her zones. Now, no one has charged the zone yet, so there's no kind of real need to do that. It doesn't really do anything. But just so you know, Zuko's counter-attacking now with a level 4 attack. Now, we move to Aang's turn now. And basically what you do here is that, since Aang knocked Zuko back to the yellow zone on his attack, he basically gets a green and a yellow energy. If you knocked him back to the red zone, he'd get 1 of each. So basically take 1 from the discard pile, put it in the green, 1 from the discard pile, put it in the yellow, and then we can continue on. And yeah. So, oh yeah, okay, now it's time for Aang to basically defend against the number 4. So you flip into this zone, and basically you have evade. And this one has defense 3, but it has an effect that says here, if you pay a red energy, you get plus 4 intercept, and you can only use this once, so you can't basically pay 2 and get plus 8. So if you add 4 onto that, you get 7. That's obviously helps out. So that means you just have to pay a green and then the red to obviously activate that. So I'm going to do that for Aang. So a green and a red energy, put them in the discard pile, and that means basically Aang can attack back now against that. So that's basically what's going to happen here. The problem is this only has 1 force. So that's basically the kind of turn system of the game. And then you come to Zuko's turn, and what you do is the cleanup, as you see it says here on the list of things. Cleanup's basically just, this card is wasted, discard pile, but he forced Aang to defend from the green zone, so he gets a green energy. So basically the card becomes an energy. One of the discard pile becomes an energy. So now it's time for Zuko to defend. And since it's only like a number 1, it's anything's pretty much going to do it. So this card, Earthbound, which has 6 defense, is definitely going to work. And it's a pretty powerful card, plus a 5. So obviously Zuko's going to pay that, so you get 1 green energy and 1 red energy. Put them into the discard pile, and then Zuko's attacking now with a plus 5 attack. So then Aang, discard this. He gets 1 green energy back because he made Zuko defend from the green zone. And then it's time for Aang to flip again, basically. So there you go. Knuckle Sandwich is the name of the card. 6 defense, 4 attack, 2 green and 1 yellow. So that's another pretty good card this set. Could be good here. So I'm going to pay that 2 and 1. Now I haven't come to like an ally or an advantage card yet, or so none of the zones are charged and stuff like that, how it works. If I don't get one of those in a while, I'm probably just going to like show you basically how those cards work. But let's just see how it goes from here. So pay the energy, this card can attack back now, and then it comes to Zuko's turn. So this card gets discarded, but because Aang defended from the green zone, it just becomes a green energy. So that's the way the game system basically keeps up energy. The more powerful cards you use, the further back you force your opponent, the more energy you get back, which is interesting. But all the time you kind of get basically 1 less energy back most of the time, which kind of keeps the game going forward. So Zuko's time to strike back. And here we go, plus 5 defense. So that works, and just going to pay that 1 green and 2 yellow. As you can see, Zuko's all out of yellow energies. And this strikes back with plus 6, so that's good. So this goes to the discard pile on Aang's side, but he gets a green energy back. Now it's time for Aang to defend, and flip it into here, and you can see that one does not have enough defense, it only got 4. So Aang's going to have to focus, which means just basically saying like, okay, I've lost the green zone, I'm going to defend in the yellow zone, but I've gained a green energy, basically. So then he has to flip into the yellow zone, and as you can see there, that one actually works because he's got plus 6. So it doesn't matter that like they're even, it's still kind of, you can still kind of pay those costs. So let's just do that. 1 green, 1 red into the discard pile, and it's time for Aang to strike back. So this card then goes to the discard pile. Aang defended from the yellow zone, so Zuko gets back a green and a yellow zone. And you can sort of see here where stuff starts to come to play. You're using the reds a lot, but not getting many red energies back. So cards that kind of give you back red energy are really good. So it's time for Zuko to kind of fight back. And here we go, here's an ally card, basically. Here's the Zuko ally cards fitting for Zuko. And basically what you do with these is you pay the cost, which is 1 green. I'm going to do it. Pay the 1 green energy, and then basically, as you can see, Zuko becomes the ally for Zuko in the green zone. And the effect is basically that if you eliminate an energy in Prince Zuko's zone, when you counter-attack in the green zone, you can eliminate an energy of the same color. So basically, Zuko, if you eliminate one of your own green energy, you can eliminate one of your opponent's green energy to kind of stop them attacking powerfully. So that's interesting, especially if you say did it in the yellow or red zone. That'd be a good place to do that. So since he's still in the green zone, you still get to flip into the green zone. I think that's how the rules work. I'm not quite sure on that. When you play an ally card or an advantage card here, do you keep going here? But I think this is what you do. And obviously here, as you can see, 7 defense, so that's that. So basically, you pay the 1, and then as you can see here, Zuko only has 1 yellow energy but you can't overpay, which means like you can pay a yellow using a red, because red is more valuable energy. So pay the one yellow, green, yellow, and then we'll pay one red as well to defend and then attack back using this. And then like there's no, if I use the ally effect, Zuko will be really low on energy, so there's no point in doing that. So basically this card basically fights back. You come over to Aang's side and you discard this and you gain 1 green energy. Aang flips, and again here's another interesting card. 5 defense, so it works. Only one attack, but the effect is if you pay a red energy, this card gets +5 force, so it goes up to a 6, which is really good. So basically you pay 1 of each energy to have it be 6 force. So that's what I'm going to do. Now Aang is all out of red energy, so you kind of have to hope that this card goes through. Now it's time to fight back basically. Zuko gets a green energy back. And now Zuko's quite low on energy here. Basically, he can only use attacks that require 1 yellow or 1 red in them, plus a few green if that works out. So flip the card over, and it's Knuckle Sandwich, as you can see here. 6 defense, 4 attack, so that actually works here just about for Zuko. But he has to pay basically all of his energy to actually use that. Now it's time for Zuko to fight back. So a lot depends on this next turn for Aang, who has more energy. And you can sort of see where the strategy of this game comes into, like, when do you decide to like fight back, maybe lose a point to gain energy back for the kind of second round of things, lose a point on purpose to gain more energy, leaving your opponent with little energy because they've used a lot fighting back and stuff like that. So that's interesting. This goes to the discard pile, but it becomes an energy. So it's really an interesting game. We've yet to come across advantage cards. The way I kind of set up these decks was that I put in 6 ally cards in each deck, and then 11 advantage cards. I maybe should have put more in, though the strikes are kind of the main part of the thing. And it kind of gets confusing when you maybe draw 2 advantage cards in a row, or 2 ally cards in a row. But anyway, let's fight back for Aang. And here we go. Wind of the Waves, Aang running away from the Unagi, basically. That's an interesting piece of art. Has 4 defense, which is perfect for the 4 attack of this card. Only 2 green energy, so Aang keeps a lot of his energy in this case. And it says, when you counterattack, you may move 1 of your green energy to your yellow zone. And that's always good to do, because you can pay a green energy using a yellow energy. But it means if that Aang needs an attack with 3 yellow energy, it works out well. So that's a good card to use. So let's see what works out for Zuko, who only gets back 1 green energy. So Zuko is down to just 2 green energy, so let's see what happens here. And this game seems to be wanting to go on forever. Look at that, perfect for Zuko, 2 and 2. But I'll just basically replenish some of Zuko's energy because he is very low. So we'll see what happens here. So basically, you know, this card can work, but basically put Zuko down to no energy, and he'll have to basically do the next turn with 1. So he's kind of going to lose no matter what a point. So the best thing to do in this case is maybe to focus an energy here. Maybe try and defend from the yellow or red zone. So he's focused that one, comes down to the yellow zone, flip, double foot drop kick. Now since he has no yellow energy, he can't even use this, even despite the fact that it works. So he focuses that to get a yellow energy, and as you can see, as you do this thing going down the zones, he's now in the red zone, you get more energy back and you have more card options open for you. We come down to this card, Fire Sweep, which does not have enough energy, only has 3 when this attack has 4. And that's not going to work, so you're going to have to focus that to get a red energy back, which means that Aang scores a point. And it also means that Aang, next turn, is going to get some energy. So that's the first point, basically, of this game. Aang just scored because Zuko kind of ran low on energy. I could have done it like here, but as you can see, the next attack required a yellow energy, and it wouldn't have worked out anyway. So there is some strategy that you can play. Like I could have played the this card here, Pummel, but it would have taken all of Zuko's energy away. So that's interesting. Aang wins a point. So then you kind of go back to that system of like, okay, it comes back to Aang's turn. He gets 1 energy for each zone. And then what happens when you score a point basically is that Aang also gets an additional energy for any allies he has. So if he had an ally in the green zone, he'd get a green. If he had an ally in the yellow zone, he'd get yellow, red, red. If you had all 3, you get 1 of each. So it's kind of good to set up allies. Like Zuko would have got an additional green if he scored the point. So now you're in this position where like, okay, Aang's just scored a point. You then go back to that system of kind of like, I think the way you do it is that Aang wins, so he has to attack first. I'm not quite sure on the rules in this case, but it's one of those things. Either like you start a new round, and it's I think it actually Aang defends first to give the other opponent a chance to get back in the game. That's how it works. But I'm just gonna kind of not stop the game basically here for a second to show you kind of how advantage cards works and how kind of the chamber cards come into things. So I'm just going to, sorry about this, I'm just searching the deck for the cards. There we go. Okay. You see here, these are advantage cards. These are the other type of cards. Obviously there's strike cards, which are blue. Ally cards, which are kind of pinky purpley, and then the kind of orangey brownish ones are advantage cards. Now what these do for the game is obviously like you flip like here's 3 of them just to show you what happens basically. Say it was Aang's turn, he flips an advantage card here. That's pay 2 energy, and it says immediate to this zone. If this zone is already charged, you may charge any other zone. So playing advantage cards is the way that you charge zones. Some other card effects do it like this, and that's how it works. So if you play one in the green zone, you charge this zone, and how you charge it is basically just, you obviously have this, your deck, and your discard pile, and to charge the green zone, you turn it sideways. Now, let's just say for example, obviously this effect involves charging. Let's say this was already charged. You can charge another zone, so let's charge the yellow zone. And then, okay, you've used a advantage card here. The advantage card goes to the discard pile, and you draw an advantage into the yellow zone. Let's say you just focus that one, and then you come into the red zone, and you have another advantage. Okay, let's say you play that. Your strikes have -1 intercept +1 force. Since this isn't an immediate advantage card, it stays up here until the beginning of your next turn. And because you've played an advantage card in the red zone, you charge your red zone. Now, basically what that means is you have all 3 zones charged. Let's skip ahead to Aang's next turn. This card finishes working, but now that all the zones are charged, you can activate Aang's chamber card. And how this works is basically that instead of flipping a card, you basically just uncharge all your zones by kind of turning them up the right way again, and then you can open up the chamber card section of the Aang card, which is in this case penguin sledding, which is 5 defense, 7 attack, but since you're attacking with it, it's a 7 attack, and that's really all that matters. Whenever your opponent focuses, penguin sledding gets -1 force, so the only way to kind of stop this in some cases is to focus, and these are really powerful attacks. Obviously in the chamber cards, they're all really good and have good effects for the most part, and otherwise it plays the same way as using a strike card over here. It's just that you're not kind of using a card from your deck, and basically when you finish using this card, what you do is obviously you've uncharged your zones, and then to use it again you have to charge it, but because you've used the front side of the card, you flip it over, and that's the more powerful side of the card. As you can see here, Taming Vertigo Dash, 6 defense, 6 attack. It's a kind of better card overall, and that's like the good thing to do. So there is a lot of strategy to this game. How much advantage cards you put into your deck depends on, basically determines how much you're going to use your chamber card, or do you focus more on having good strike cards, which are the main part of the game, or do you focus on having like lots of allies to assist you throughout the game. That was kind of an interesting game in that Aang scored the first point when I was expecting Zuko to. That's interesting. So you can see right there that it is actually a very interesting game. Like, a lot depends on like managing your resources of your energies, when to use them, when to not use them, and stuff like that. Using advantage cards properly, using effects wisely, and stuff like that. It's a very interesting game. And then the chamber card, obviously, when to use that, and stuff like that. That's really cool. And obviously, there are other card effects that, like, say, uncharge one of your opponent's zones, which is really good. It's like, obviously you'd want to go for the red zone. That's the hardest one to charge. So if you uncharge their zone, it's really good, and stuff like that. So I hope this has been a fairly long video, but I hope you've enjoyed kind of basically how the game works. I just played basically a third of a game. It took longer than expected because obviously I was explaining the stuff as I went along. But I have played the game with like my sisters before, and it is actually a really fun game to play overall. Again, this game would have been so much better if they'd kept bringing out sets, because like imagine stuff like Season 3 Zuko chamber card, Toph chamber card, stuff like that, Ozai chamber card, stuff like that later in the season, Azula chamber card, and then having allies like maybe Chitsang and Hakoda. You know, this card game had a lot of potential, and I think just Avatar card games in general have a lot of potential, even if it's not this specific game. So, thank you for watching this video. I should have some other interesting stuff. I have another opening of kind of older Avatar merchandise at some stage. Could be a week, 2 weeks, depending on when that package arrives. So that's another kind of retro video, I suppose, coming up, as well as I'll continue to put out Avatar The Last Airbender episode commentaries, and I think I'll be starting up the papercraft stuff again at the start of next week. So a lot of stuff to look out for on my channel. So thank you for watching this video, and bye.